So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, August 20th. Hopefully everybody's coming today so far on a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, August 20th here today. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Coming off of another big day in sports, another big night in football and baseball last night, as you had the New England Patriots and Philadelphia Eagles have a preseason game. I did not watch it. I saw some highlights, but I did not watch it. I know the Patriots won 35-0, and the New York Yankees continue to just dominate and win, and every positive word you could think of can explain the New York Yankees right now. I mean, they are an exciting baseball team. They have now won 7 in a row, and they are rolling right, and they're getting hot at the exact right time. And they are hot, and we need them to stay hot. And exactly last night was exactly the response we needed after, sweeping Boston. That was great, awesome. Right, you needed to shift your focus to Minnesota, and we got the job done. Put up 6 runs in, I believe, the 6th inning. Twins made a little bit of a comeback, but then you had Stanton's extra insurance home run, which was nice. And we got the job done 7-5. So, it was great. It was awesome. Really proud of the Yankees right now. As much as we all talked about, the struggles they had throughout the season, it really is something special to see that they are finally putting together wins, and it is great to see. And this team is just a different team. Stealing bases, the energy. This is just a different team that is taking the field every day, and it's big, and it's awesome, and it's the right time that they are getting hot. As I mentioned, it's August 20th. We're getting closer and closer to, that tail end of the season where it gets, or it gets really close with all the different matchups, and when you get to the wild card in the division, it's really right now is an exciting time to be a New York Yankee fan. And on the other side of the spectrum, it is not an exciting time to be a New York Met fan, as the Mets fall yet again. They lose to the Los Angeles Dodgers last night 4-1. So the New York Mets go from promising to right in, they're done. They are literally pretty much done. They're sinking, and they're continuing to sink, and it doesn't seem like they're going to stop sinking, as they now fall to 1-6 through this 13-game stretch. They got swept by the Dodgers, then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Giants, and now they lost last night. So they're 1-6 through this 13-game stretch. They got 6 more games to go. If somehow they find a way to win 2 more games and they go 3-10, great, good for them, but they're sinking, and they are not anywhere close to where they want to be. They're now 5 games back, I believe, in the division, and they're still below 500. So the Mets are sinking, they're sinking, and they continue to sink every game that they lose. And the New York Yankees are rising right now, and we're talking about the Yankees right now, being on a 7-game win streak and 8-2 on our last 10, and the Yankees hit the 70 win mark. So I'm gonna ask you this. If I told you that the Yankees would have hit 70 wins before the Boston Red Sox did, I think we all would have thought I was crazy. I would have thought you were crazy if you told me the New York Yankees would have hit 70 wins before the Boston Red Sox. I would have thought anyone who ever said it was crazy. If I said it, I would have thought I was crazy. But hey, the Yankees have hit 70 wins before the Boston Red Sox. And as crazy as it may sound, the Yankees are 5 games back of first place, which the Rays are on a roll. If the Rays start losing, the Yankees can need to pick up. Division's not out of the equation. It's not out of the equation. Now, is it going to be hard? Is it probably the chances of us winning the division are probably low? Yes, but it's not out of the equation. I think we all consider it when we were 10 games back. I think we can consider it was pretty much out of the equation. But now we're right back in it, and Yankees continue to roll. So Yankees get the win yesterday 7-5. Mets fall short 4-1. Yankees, Mets both play today, second game of their respective 4-game series. Nestor Cortez on the mound today for the Yankees. He's been just great this season. He's been awesome, fun to watch. So he'll be on the mound today. And then for the Mets, I believe, I could check. I'm not too sure who's on the mound for the Mets. I believe it's Carrasco. Yep, it's Carrasco. So Carrasco's on the mound today, and the Mets have to face the tough Walker Buehler, one of the best pitchers in baseball. So we'll see if the Mets can find a way to string any hits together against him, unlike they've been doing recently. So, yeah. So Yankees, Mets today. And with all that being said, let's get to the podcast. I did my fantasy football draft last night. I'll get to that, or yesterday rather. I'll get to that later on in the podcast with the New York Sports Update and Fantasy Baseball. I'll get to that. The podcast is going to be full of a negative and a positive. So just giving you a little bit of update here on this Friday. We're going to get into the first topic, Carl Lawson. Very bad news for the New York Jets as they hear that Carl Lawson is done for the season. He has a torn Achilles, and he's done for the year. So the New York Jets, huge, big off-season signing. Really in this defensive scheme was going to turn into one of the could have turned into one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL. Is now done for the year, and the big 3-year, $45 million deal that we gave him, we're gonna have to wait on that as he's done for the season. He tore his Achilles yesterday at joint practice with the Green Bay Packers. It is just deflating news to the New York Jets. It is terrible news to the organization, to the franchise, to the defense, and I'm going to get into it, react, tell you where the Jets go from here, because I always talk about this. I always say that there's gains that really can help your team, and there's losses that really can hurt your team. And this is one of these losses that fall under the category of could completely change what this defense looks like on the defensive line. So we're going to get into this, talk about the whole situation and who could fill his role. Do the Jets go with Bryce Huff? Do the Jets go with Zuniga? Do they go out and sign a free agent? Do they trade for maybe Chandler Jones? What did the New York Jets do? I'll get to all that in the first topic. Very bad news. I mean, you don't understand how deflating this is as a fan. I mean, this was a guy who's having a huge training camp. And under this 4-3 defense with Robert Saleh, he was going to just be unbelievable. And Saleh, this was Saleh's guy. He wanted him. They got him. And, we'll see what the Jets go from here. But, it's just one of these things where, it's football. And, these are some things that, they just can't be avoided. I mean, a torn Achilles can happen anytime. I mean, it really can. I mean, you could be running and tear your Achilles. You could do anything and you could tear your Achilles. It's not a contact injury. So, it's not like he got a concussion, or if he got like a broken bone or something from a contact injury, or God forbid ever got like a compound fracture, but you can't do anything about it. I mean, he tore his Achilles, so it's terrible, it's awful, but we'll get into it. Then the next topic will be Yankees continued success, rather. Sorry, I got Jets on this paper. Yankees continued success. I talked a little bit about it yesterday. I got to talk about it again because I can't just let this thing go. We go into a weekend where Yankees, the way they're playing, they might sweep this 4-game set. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but this is really something special that the New York Yankees are doing right now. Christian Velasquez, I really want to get into him. This is a guy that, from the Bronx, he grew up a Yankee fan, grew up going to the games. I believe he was from Fordham Prep or something like that, which was, I guess, a school close to Yankee Stadium in Bronx. This is a kid. He's a guy. He's a player that was local, and he's living out a dream right now. And it really is something special. And I know I'm going to say "and" a lot, but it's just crazy. And I also wanted to get into the entire just Yankees just success and the playoff, and it's so exciting. This is a different team. I'm telling you, different team. Gallo and Rizzo have helped a ton, but there's something else that someone spoke to the team or something, because this team is completely different with the energy and the level of play. So it's great to see. And we'll finish off with the New York Sports Update. Yankees, Mets today. We'll get to fantasy baseball and football. I wanted to reveal you my fantasy football team. Talk about each guy. I'll tell you what. I thought I really liked my team. As I mentioned last year, I did not like my team that much last season. This season, however, I really like my team. I think I did a good job. I really stuck to my plan, running back, receiver, and I think it worked out. And I look at my team, and I like my team a lot. So, all the rankings I did yesterday definitely helped me. I think, I always tend to double guess during fantasy drafts, but I was able to get the draft done. And I got the third pick, by the way. That's another thing I want to say. So third pick, which was perfect. Spoiler alert, I got Kamara with the third pick, so just a spoiler alert. But other than that, not going to tell you the rest of my roster. We'll get to that later on. All right, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So, Jets Carl Lawson out for a season after Achilles injury, diagnosed as tear. Yes, you have heard that right. Just deflating and awful news for the New York Jets as Carl Lawson, their big offseason signing, goes down with a torn Achilles. And, this is one of these things, right, as I just mentioned a couple minutes ago when you're talking about it, there's injuries in sports, right? There's always things in sports, too, that, trades or acquisitions that help your team go from about here to all the way up here, or, from contender to from Super Bowl team, or from, maybe on the outside looking in to all of a sudden being in the playoffs. I'm not saying the Jets fall under Super Bowl contender. I'm just saying the Jets were about here with their defense, and they were all the way up here when they signed Carl Lawson. So, it really is something crazy when we saw Carl Lawson. And there's also moments in sports where you could be up here and you could lose a guy and your team could go all the way down here. We've seen that a ton where teams lose big-time players and they get injured and their team's just not the same. We see it a lot in the NFL. I was talking about yesterday to somebody. It's the business. It's the NFL. It's how it is. The NFL is a contact sport. It's a very weird sport. You're literally hitting each other at max speed. It's going to happen. Injuries are going to happen. It's the most injury-prone sport, I would say, out there, just because of all the contact and the hitting and all that stuff. But it's just awful because what we expected as New York Jet fans this season out of Carl Lawson was, I think, something special. And you're talking about a guy that was in this 4-3 defense, could have turned into one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL. And, throughout training camp and throughout these early preseason and stuff like this, all this offseason workouts, he has been the most impressive player on that defense. And you can make the argument the most impressive player on the entire team. Now, also Elijah Moore has been impressive. Zach Wilson's had very good moments, right? There's been a lot of guys out there, but Carl Lawson definitely fits into the category of having an incredibly impressive training camp and, just overall, just an incredibly impressive start to the season and start to the offseason workout. So it's been awesome to see. It's been so much fun to see his highlights, watch what he's doing. There's an episode out there called One Jets Drive. It's where they kind of do, it's like a 30-minute episode. It's almost like a little documentary. They do it every year. They do it throughout the season, but it's like, in the offseason now, they're kind of they're looking at all the offseason workouts. And the other day, one of the episodes, the first episode, was taking you inside Carl Lawson's, whole routine and everything like that, and his whole, just his whole training prep and why he felt the Jets was the right place. And, it was really something crazy. What this guy does day in and day out to prepare himself, get himself ready for NFL action, and get himself ready to be out there and going and playing and trying his best to help the team win is really something remarkable. And, how deflating this is to a defense and a team really is. And now I will say this, okay, before I really get into the deflating part, one player on a football team is not going to win you a game. Basketball, it's different. You could have one play. We saw it with the Cavs, LeBron James. You remove LeBron James, the Cavs are a terrible team. So LeBron James is on that Cavs team, right? He's very good. You could have one player on a team, and basketball be very good. Baseball, you need a lineup. Even if you have very good players, if they can't stand up there and hit, right? Baseball's a different sport. Football is the same thing. Hockey, you could have 2-3 good players, and you could do really well. Same thing with football here. You need more than just one guy. One guy's not going to carry a team. Unless if you have a Shohei Ohtani of football that plays quarterback and then can play linebacker, right? No, but it's the truth though. Football, you need more than one guy. So before I do say that, this is huge deflating, because it is deflating. It's not like the Jets season's over, and that's something I want to make clear here. This is not. All these fans out here and everybody saying, the Jets season's now over. That's not true. Okay? Depending on what the Jets do at the edge rush spot, I'm sure Saleh will be asked that question today. I'm sure Douglas is already working on it. Maybe Douglas has already called and seen what players are available. Maybe we go with Bryce Huff, who last season in limited playing time showed some flashes, but it's just, can he do that consistently? One of the things I will say is no matter who you get, they're probably not going to fill what Carl Lawson could have done. And, Carl Lawson, fitting in this scheme you could make the argument was going to turn into one of the top pass rushers in the league. And if you don't know who Carl Lawson is, and you just think, oh, he's just another guy in the Jets, no, he's not. Look at his numbers. Look at how good he is when he was with the Bengals. Look at it, all of his, how quick he gets to the pass rusher and his win ability, his one-on-one win ability. It really is something special. What we got in Carl Lawson was something special. And for him to tear his Achilles is terrible. It's awful. And it's something that the Jets are going to have to find a way to make up. But we're going to have to do it quick. Whether the Jets decide to go out and sign somebody, you're going to have to sign them quick. Because then they're going to have to come in here and get ready and learn the scheme and all that. Whether the Jets go out and trade for someone, same thing. The Jets might say, oh, it's August 20th, it's not worth it going out and trying to sign somebody and get them ready for week 1. Might as well keep what we got and, stick with who we got and, stick with, what we got and, they've been in the scheme. They already know what they're doing and all that stuff. I don't know how I feel about striking a trade right now because it's going to be interesting. If you strike a trade, you're going to have to give up assets. And giving up assets for a 1-year replacement because Carl Lawson's going to be back next season is a little weird. So I think what the Jets will probably do here is, if anything, they sign somebody. I don't think they go out and trade. Knowing Douglas, too, I don't think he's going to go out and strike a big trade. Chandler Jones is out there. I don't know if the Jets are going to do that. Number one, you're going to have to give up assets. The Cardinals are going to want to get him out because Chandler Jones is very good. Okay, I don't know if a trade's the right thing on August 20th, a couple weeks before the season. I really don't, but we'll see what the Jets do. So maybe they go out and trade and they give up a 5th-round pick and a 3rd-string edge and they get Chandler Jones. Then I'll be happy about it, but I think they're going to give up a lot more. But back to Lawson, I feel like as a Jet fan, the pain just doesn't end. Like, there's always something with the Jets. Like, you finally seem like you're coming out of the woods and, and all that stuff, and then it's just like this happens. And not that this means our season's over, but it's like we have so much excitement around Lawson and the defense and the team in general, and then one of your big guys go down, and it's just deflating, and it really is. So, this is a big loss for the Jets defense. Like I said, what he was going to bring to the table is quick, one-on-one. He was going to win one-on-ones. Get to the quarterback, force pressures, deflect passes, stop the run. This is a guy who is all around a great player. This is why the New York Jets signed him to a 3-year, $45 million deal, is so he could do all the things I just said. And he was doing those in training camp. He was the most impressive defensive player in training camp. And you could say, if he stayed healthy, he was going to be the best player on the defense. There's no doubt about it. And now he's done. So the Jets got to figure something out. Whether that's, like I said, signing, trading, sticking with what you got, which I would probably say is probably the easiest way to go. If this happened in July, maybe the Jets decide to say, or July, whether, let's say this happened at minicamp, maybe the Jets go out and say, hey, we'll trade. But now it's already late August. You're in the full swing of training camp. Jets tomorrow have their 2nd preseason game. This might be one of these things where you just go ahead and say, hey, we're going with Bryce Huff, Zuniga, these young guys, because the Jets do have good depth at the defensive line position. Now, no one's going to be what Carl Lawson can be, but it is what it is. So, terrible news for the Jets. And this is the 2nd time in the NFL, by the way, where this is the 2nd time in the NFL someone's torn their Achilles. Yeah, this season, overall, there's been a ton of athletes who tear their Achilles. But Cam Akers tore his Achilles, I believe, July, I think, just a couple weeks before training camp. And then you had now Lawson tear his Achilles. And then you had, last season, you had Marlon Mack tear his Achilles. Although that was, I think, during the season. So that's it. And I wanted to say this, and I'll get into the article and just some final thoughts about this whole situation. This is what I want to say. Okay, to all those people out there, saying eliminate the preseason. I agree. I don't like the preseason. I think it should be eliminated. I know a lot of players don't like it. I think it's a waste of time. I just don't think it's good. I don't like the preseason much. I really don't. I get myself all excited for games that mean absolutely nothing. So just for my own well-being, for me to be all excited about games and be cheering and realize that it means absolutely nothing, I don't like the preseason. I know many players don't like the preseason. But this thing going around saying, oh, we shouldn't have these joint practices, and oh, we shouldn't have these practices, and oh, he was going too hard. People, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical expertise. I'm not an expert with Achilles. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Achilles can happen anytime. I mean, Kevin Durant, just use him as an example. He did not have a contact injury. His torn Achilles happened when he was trying to go and make a cut towards the hoop, and it popped on him. So a torn Achilles is a non-contact injury. Most of the time, I would believe. I don't think you can get hit and tear your Achilles. So Lawson yesterday could have even just been going cutting to go make a tackle or cutting in a drill, and he tore his Achilles. So this isn't like something where it was a contact thing. I mean, you could literally be running and tear your Achilles. Now the chances are extremely rare, but you saw KD. He took a step to the right, tried to cut, and it popped on him. I mean, that's how torn Achilles are. Same thing with ACLs. So everybody's saying, oh, they shouldn't be practicing. Oh, he's doing too hard. That's false. It's a torn Achilles. It's a non-contact injury. It's something that could happen so freak, like just cutting or even just running or backpedaling, doing anything. So it's unfortunate. That's why it's so unfortunate. It'd be one thing if it was a contact injury and you're like, well, that stinks, but this is completely out of your control. Contact is a little bit more in your control because, if you're not going as hard, if you're not going 110 miles an hour, a little bit different. But still, I mean, it is what it is. It stinks. It's unfortunate. That's the big thing. It's not like he was leading with his head and he broke his collarbone or he had a concussion or something like that. It was a torn Achilles, non-contact injury. So it's super unfortunate. But to the people out there who are saying, oh, they're practicing too hard, what do you want them to do? Not practice? What do you want the Jets to do? Not practice? Go out there week one with no practice? What do you want them to do? I mean, you got to practice. This is how football is. Injuries always happen. It is. And I find, too, myself, part of my sports fandom has turned into worrying about injuries. Like, if you see a guy that's having a really good season, you're just concerned that he's going to get injured and that season's just going to be done. And that's the same thing here with Carl Lawson. He was having an amazing training camp. We were expecting big things out of him. We were expecting him to turn into one of the top elite edge rushers in the league, and this happens. So it's super unfortunate. It stinks. It's awful. It seems like this always happens to the Jets, but it's just next man up mentality at this point. And, I guess if you want to be a glass half full type person, you're going to have to, if you want to be a glass half full type person, at least he'll be back ready for next season. It's not like this is something that happened week 5 of the season and he would miss half of next year. It's about a year recovery, so he's going to be back fully for next year and he should be ready for week 1. So, this is just, it's unfortunate, but, Lawson will be back. There's been plenty of guys that have gotten injured before and made comebacks. Look at Barkley, tore his ACL week 2. Look at him now. So it's just a weight game now, and we'll see. But it's unfortunate. That's really it. Barkley, same thing. I can't do anything about it. All right, let's get to this article here. Jets Carl Lawson out for season after Achilles injury diagnosed as tear. We pretty much knew it. I heard the report that he got carted off the field with an Achilles injury, or carted off the field with a leg injury. He wasn't putting any pressure on it, and then wasn't putting any pressure on it. And then after that, he went for an MRI, found out it's torn Achilles. Now, I believe he said that he felt a pop, which 99.99999% of the time means that's a torn Achilles or a tear of something. But, as Jet fans, we were all crossing our fingers that it was just maybe like a strain or a pull or something like that or whatever, and he could be ready for the season. But I think once we all knew he got carted off, if it was a strain or a pull, he would have been able to put pressure on it. We knew it was something worse when he couldn't put pressure on it. He had to get carted off. So the New York Jets announced that veteran pass rusher Carl Lawson will miss the entire 2021 NFL season after rupturing his Achilles tendon. The injury came during Thursday's practice. Lawson signed a 3-year, $45 million deal that included $30 million guaranteed with the Jets in the offseason. The size of the contract spoke to how much New York expected of the 2017 fourth-round pick. Through 4 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, he recorded 20 sacks and 19 tackles for loss. In January, Pro Football Focus, Ben Lindsay described Lawson as perhaps the best pure pass rusher to hit free agency this offseason. I was talking to someone yesterday about this. This was one of the best pass rushers on the open market, on the market last year. We got one of the best free agent players available. I mean, people don't realize the big magnitude of the signing. After spending most of his time in Cincinnati in a more limited role, the breakout opportunity was real in 2021. The 26-year-old was making a strong impression on first-year head coach Robert Saleh in training camp. This is what Connor Rogers said, one of an NFL kind of reporter. Saleh with nonstop praise of Carl Lawson in his presser notes he has different level of work ethic that consistently translates to the field. That happened on August 10th, 2021 in a post-practice press conference. So, it was a couple days ago that happened, and yeah. Lawson was a sensible addition to a Jets defense that recorded 31 sacks as a team, tied for 20th. With the regular season right around the corner, New York may have limited options to replace along the defensive line. Absent in an outside addition, the onus could be on Ronald Blair or Bryce Huff to assume a starting role. For Lawson, the concern extends beyond 2021. The Athletic's Stephen Holder reported in May how major Achilles injuries aren't quite as deleterious to players' careers compared to past errors, but it's still a major hurdle to overcome. The timing of Lawson's injury should at least allow him to be back to 100% in time for the 2022 season. So if you want to be glass half full, which I'll try my best to be, he'll be ready for next year. Now, to my point with what the Jets go from here. Now, one of the quick things I do want to say here. With this, one of the quick things I want to mention here with the Achilles injury. So, it's a bad injury. It's terrible. Don't get me wrong. And it's an injury that many players have changed their trajectory of their careers. Now, players recently have tend to come back a little bit better from them. I think with the technology and more research nowadays and all that stuff, it's been better, the recovery, which is great. We saw Kevin Durant. Everyone was questioning him. He had a great year this year. He looked, I think people said this was one of his best years ever. So Durant didn't fall off at all. So you can only hope that Lawson, with the technology and all the different things right now, that Lawson can return to what the Jets expected him to be. With that being said, where do the Jets go from here? Now, the Jets have a couple options. As I talked about the other day, the Jets do have good depth at defense. So it's not like we have nobody. It's not like we have nobody and, it's like we have no good backups. We do have depth, and I talked about that the other day with the Jets and their defense and Quinnen Williams and all that stuff. We have depth at the defensive line. So we either go with Bryce Huff, Ronnie Blair. Do you go with Jabari Zuniga, someone who injured prone last year, didn't do much in his rookie season? Bryce Huff had a very good preseason game, had 2 sacks. He did show flashes last season. He's had a pretty solid training camp. Do you go with him? Or do you go with maybe the safest option, Ronnie Blair, who has already played in Robert Saleh's system? We signed him this offseason as a free agent. He played with the San Francisco 49ers while Saleh was there. And he obviously was a free agent after last season. He signed with the Jets this year. So do you go with maybe a safe bet where Saleh obviously believes in him? He's already played in his 4-3 defense. He knows what it's like. Or do the Jets completely go out and maybe shock many and go out and sign an outsider? Whether that's Olivier Vernon, who's an option that we could do. Whether it's Olivier Vernon. Whether we go out and maybe check the available... maybe we check the availability on Chandler Jones. So this is some of the options here. I'm just going to read you over. So you could go with Bryce Huff at right end, or you could go with veteran Ronnie Blair or Jabari Zuniga, and Vinny Curry, Kyle Phillips, all options, but they're not as much edge. Or could you sign a free agent, which is another option. Like I just mentioned, you could go Olivier Vernon. He had Achilles surgery in January, so if you want a guy that just got injured by Achilles and replace him with a guy who's overcoming an Achilles, I guess you could do that. You go with Trent Murphy, Everson Griffin, who in his prime was very good. He's a little older now. Adrian Claiborne, or any of those options. Or you can make a trade, which I don't think is going to happen, but this is an option. Check the availability on Chandler Jones, who was requested a trade in the offseason of the Cardinals. So those are some options. Personally, if you're asking me, this is not what I'm saying I want. I don't really care what the Jets do. Whoever it is, just please do your job. I'm not, whoever it is, I feel like the Jets just go out and just try their best to just find the most logical replacement. Now, I'm not, maybe I don't want to get too caught up in the big names of Everson Griffin and Olivier Vernon, and, you go over to, Vernon played with the Giants there for a little bit, or go over to Chandler Jones. I don't want to get all caught up in that. What I do think the Jets could do here is see what your young guys do. Give the young guys an opportunity. And I think that's what the Jets will do. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the New York Jets will sign another edge rusher. Even if it's someone that's not very good, they sign him just for depth. I'm sure Douglas is already talking to maybe some of these other guys. It's just a matter of are they going to sign him or not, and I don't really know. I think if I had to make a prediction, if I had to pick what the New York Jets are going to do, I would probably go ahead and say they're probably going to stay pat and go with either Huff or Ronnie Blair or Jabari Juniga, one of those. Personally, I would probably say Bryce Huff's the starter, and then you fill those other guys in the roles behind him. So that's probably what the Jets do. But it's still up in the air. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I say this all the time. I'm not the New York Jets general manager. I'm just the guy that sits here and talk about sports. So, I don't really know what completely to expect. I mean, if I'm a Jet fan and I'm going off of I'm going off of history with Joe Douglas in his short couple years here with us, he tends not to go out and spend a ton of money. He tends not to go out and make major moves. So he likes to build through the draft and likes to build with the young guys and the guys that he has on his roster, which would technically say building through the young guys on a roster like Huff and Zuniga and then the other guys like Blair and many others. And you look at, I don't know if he's a guy that's going to go out and make a big trade for Chandler Jones or make a big signing in Everson Griffin or Olivier Vernon. I just don't. And another thing, too, is these guys have already been in the system. Especially Ronnie Blair. He's been in the system since Saleh took over as defensive coordinator there in San Francisco. So he knows the system even better. Plus, Bryce Huff and everybody else is already learning the system and been in the system. So on August 20th, if you go out and sign a guy that's a new face and all that stuff, and he's got to come in and learn the whole system in about in less than a month and expect to be ready for week 1, that could be a little bit of an issue. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But there's definitely no doubt this is a major loss. And this is a loss that's going to affect the Jets, and it's going to affect the defensive line. But as I'm a Yankee fan, so I know too well about this. It's next man up mentality. You just got to hope that next guy up and, just the next man up. I mean, the Yankees are going through it right now. Next man up mentality, and the Yankees are doing great. So we'll see how it all plays out, but terrible news. And as a Jet fan, I hope that Lawson has a speedy recovery and he gets back in no time and he comes back better than ever next season. And, it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. So I think it's definitely going to be I think his comeback next season is going to be exciting in terms of, I think, what he can do and maybe winning comeback player of the year. So, definitely, Jets, big hole here, but, hey, you got to find a way to fill it, and whoever fills it, they get their true opportunity, and we'll see what they're capable of. So, it's next man up, and the Jets got to just continue to roll with it and continue to try and get better every day. And, it's a big loss, but got to go with the next man up mentality, and Jets just got to roll with it. It's football, as I always say. So that's what I got for the New York Jets and Carl Lawson. Coming up next here, I wanted to get into the Yankees' continued success. Yes, the New York Yankees win yet again last night as they beat the Minnesota Twins 7-5 in Game 1 of their 4-game set. I'll get to the Yankees. I want to get to Velasquez and much more coming up next. All right, so welcome me back here. I will definitely get to this tomorrow. We just got news here that Henrik Lundqvist has announced retirement. So, the longtime legendary Ranger goalie, one of my favorite players of all time, Lundqvist retires from NHL. Legendary Rangers goalie Henrik Lundqvist announces retirement after 15 seasons. He had some heart inflammation. He had some heart issues, which sidelined him for all of last season, and he has officially announced retirement. So, I'll definitely get to that tomorrow. But for now, we got to get to the New York Yankees, and we got to get to the Yankees and get to their success, because boy, oh boy, are the New York Yankees a completely different baseball team as they win yet again last night, 7-5. And the Yankees moved to 70, and yes, 70. You heard that right, 70-52 on the season. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think anybody would have bought in or believed, or I would have thought you were crazy if you would have said the New York Yankees would have been at 70 wins before the Boston Red Sox were. And it is really something crazy what's going on with the New York Yankees right now as the Yankees win yet again. We are now 5 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays at 70-52. Rays are 75-47, so 5 in the win, 5 in the loss column. And 7-game win streak. We're 8-2 in our last 10, and our playoff chances have went from all the way down to now 80.9% chance of making the playoffs, which is great to see. And the Red Sox are struggling. Blue Jays are struggling a little bit, so they're a team that's falling a little back, which creates more cushion for the Yankees. And the Yankees right now are +1 in the wild card. We are 1 game above the A's, and we're +1 in the wild card. So the Yankees are in the wild card right now. A's are in the wild card, and Boston's a half game out. So the Yankees are in. If the season would to end today, Yankees are in. Let me say that one more time, because that the roller coaster year that the New York Yankees have had, I can't believe I'm saying this. If the season would to end today, the New York Yankees would have a home game versus the Oakland A's in the wild card. Would have a home game versus the Oakland A's in the wild card if the season would end today. That's just wild. It's wild. It really is something crazy. And how these Yankees have turned this season around is really something special. Because remember coming out of the All-Star break, we talked about that 13-game stretch where if the Yankees don't do anything, they're out there at 13-game stretch. We were talking about entering a rebuild. We were talking about restarting. We were talking about firing guys. We were talking about doing this and that, myself included. And the Yankees went out and got Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo, and it shot anything down about rebuilding or restarting. Yankees went all in. Yankees put all their poker. They went all in. They put their chips all in, and it's working right now. It is really working right now. And there's something different about the energy of this Yankees team. Because I don't know if you remember, but I talked about it earlier in the year where, when there wasn't much energy and it was like like the games. I even said on the broadcast, and there just wasn't any energy in the ballpark. There just wasn't. And maybe that's because fans were just coming back and I'm just using normal reasons here. Maybe fans were coming back and, there wasn't as many people at the stadium and Yankees were struggling to begin with, and it was kind of just a weird time in baseball and the stadiums and fans and, just the whole situation. And there wasn't any energy. No energy. And I talked about it many times. You look at some of the other teams, and there's energy, guys doing all this and that and winning games and celebrations and bat flips and, this and that. Tatis doing backflips night in and night out. Yankees didn't have that. They didn't have that swagger. And now, turn the tables, and the Yankees have all of a sudden turned their season around, and we're talking about a team that's playing with a ton of swagger, a ton of energy, and I got to admit, night in, night out, when you're watching that Yankee game, it feels like playoff baseball all of a sudden. It does. The stadium's full. The fans are loud. The players are energetic. The dugout's rolling. There's all of a sudden this sense of just energy and this momentum that the New York Yankees have right now. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I don't really know, I just don't even know what how this could be slowed down, because the Yankees are so good right now. We are on such a high. We are on cloud 9 right now. We're on cloud 9. It's crazy for a team now. We were talking about not even just a month ago, but even about a month ago rather. My bad. About a month ago. Crazy August. It's already August 20th. Time's flown. So we talked about a month ago. Talking about, is this team going to enter a rebuild? What is this team going to do? And now we're talking about this team's a serious contender for winning a division now. It's not crazy likely, but it's still possible. And we're in the wild card right now. So how the season has turned is something wild. And Christian Velasquez has been just something crazy. And it's been awesome. And anytime, right, I've always said this, anytime, you have injuries, as I mentioned with Carl Lawson, anytime you have injuries, sure, it stinks. It's awful. You never want to see anyone get injured, no matter if you hate the guy or if you really like the guy or if he's on your team or if he's not on your team. You never want to see injuries. I've always said that. Even my least favorite players, I've said you never like to see injuries. It's terrible. It's awful. You're talking about especially injuries that could derail a career. You never want to see that. But when injuries happen, they happen in sports. They happen all the time. Injuries can happen to anybody. You don't have to be playing baseball or football or basketball or hockey. You could be doing anything. But injuries can happen anything. So, whenever injuries happen, it always stinks. But there's always that time where, you kind of deep down inside, it's like, in a way, it's like now you bring up a young guy, you bring up a new guy in Christian Velasquez, and it's like he just jolts energy. And that a lot of times happens when you have a new guy coming up. He's trying to prove that he's capable of being in the MLB. He's trying to prove what he's able to do, not just to the Yankees, but trying to prove to the other teams. He's living out a dream right now playing for the New York Yankees, and ultimately he's trying to help his team win. And, when minor leaguers come up, they're so hungry. They just want to have success. And sometimes, even though there's injuries and it stinks when injuries happen, sometimes it's better when some of these minor leaguers come up and, jolt energy into this clubhouse. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't know really how to word that, but it's the truth. Like, what Christian Velasquez has all of a sudden done is something crazy. Like, he's like him and Odor, like these Energizer bunnies, and they're just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and the energy is just an all-time high right now. And the momentum, and the confidence, and the better at-bats, and hitting with runners in scoring position. Everything the Yankees are doing are so much better. And Velasquez is batting .269 right now. And last night he had 2 more hits. He went 2 for 3, 2 runs. He did have a strikeout on one of that inside pitch that I did not like. And look, he had a triple last night. He had a triple. It's really wild what he's doing. And it's super fun to watch. And he's having fun. Yankees are having fun. There is a new energy on this team. And the Yankees are a completely different ball team. When I watched the Yankees a month ago, even into June and earlier July, I was watching a flat team. We were watching a team that was flat, no energy, not much energy in the stadium with the fans, and we were watching a team that was scoring 1-2 runs every night. And now we're watching a team that's getting big hits in good situations, stealing bases. Since when did the New York Yankees steal bases? I mean, the Yankees, I believe, had the least amount of stolen bases in the first half of the season. Like, since when did the New York Yankees start stealing bases? I believe the Yankees have the most stolen bases since the start of the second half of the season. Like, since when? Like, when did Aaron Judge start stealing bases? It's just crazy. It really is. It really is. And now we're talking about a team with ultimate confidence. The confidence is sky high, which is great. And what I'm happy about last night's win is, yes, it's the Twins, and yes, they're struggling. But coming off a big series against the Red Sox, right, that's great. But you can't dwell on that. You got to focus on the next game. And that's what the Yankees got to do. Game by game, inning by inning, pitch by pitch. And the Yankees have done that very well so far. Not get caught looking ahead. They haven't got caught looking back. I mean, so it is. I mean, they're not going to win every single game for the rest of the season. At least I don't think. I would love that to happen. That would be awesome. But you follow what I'm saying. Yankees are a different team right now. They are. And Velasquez has been a big part. And he's been fun to watch. I mean, he's using his speed to his advantage with the triple yesterday. He's been making some really nice plays on the infield. A guy who all around has really made his mark. And whether or not he's on the roster for, the playoffs or whatever, we will always look back at this, and he's having a big impact. And it really is. And that's another thing, too. Like, you're talking about these young guys, like Luis Gil, Velasquez. These guys are making big impacts in big moments of the season. I mean, this isn't just no August games. These are games that the Yankees are needing to win to, get in and can secure their spot. And these minor leaguers are helping it happen. And I feel like in a way it's like a blessing in disguise, because without them, I just don't know if there would be this much energy and like this much just like it's just something great. It's a different baseball team. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if someone spoke to them. I know they already held a players only meeting. I don't know what happened. But whatever did happen, or whatever they're doing, just keep doing it because it's working. And as I mentioned yesterday, they win 7-5. Another good start from Tyone. He struggled a little bit in the sixth inning. He was cruising, but another good start from Tyone. He pitched 5 1/3, 5 runs, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts. He did allow a home run. Peralta pitched well again. He's been really good. Britton allowed a run, but it's Zach Britton. He's been struggling. Chad Green got the save. And now you look at today's game. We play today. Nestor Cortez is on the mound versus Charlie Barnes. So Cortez is on the mound for the Yankees, which is always solid. I trust him. He's been very good. They all the pitching staff had all the nasty Nestor shirts on yesterday. It's kind of funny. Just it's funny. Like he's just fun to watch. He's a fun player. Then tomorrow we got Cole on the mound, and then Sunday I believe Monty. Yes, he got Monty. So tomorrow actually is going to be a good matchup. Kenta Maeda and Garrett Cole. It's actually going to be a good matchup. So, and then today, Yankees got Nestor Cortez on the mound, like I said. Nestor Cortez trying to continue that success. And like I said, too, like, not even just with the base stealing, but the situational hitting. Like, all of a sudden now we're, like, hitting with runners on. Like, it really is. It's great. All right, so, Yankees 5 games behind the Rays now, 70-52. It's crazy. We reached... It really is something crazy. We reached more wins than the A's, and we're almost up there with the Astros. It really is wild. It really is wild how much the Yankees have just climbed here. I mean, the Yankees right now have more wins than the San Diego Padres. Padres have been struggling, but it's something. It really is crazy. Yankees have more wins than the San Diego Padres, and the Padres have been struggling too. They're all of a sudden only one game. I mean, they might not even make the playoffs. They got to watch out. So, but 70-52, I just keep looking at that record. I'm just, like, shocked that we have 70 wins before the A's, the Red Sox. Even you get into teams like, the A's, the Red Sox are mainly the ones. You go to the NL and you got more wins than teams like the Reds and teams like the Padres. And it's just wild how much of a leap we've made. And I'll tell you what, in the NL East, just looking at it, the Rays right now, they are 4 games up in the division. So the Braves seem like they might be running away with that division, which is very possible. They're cruising right now as well. I thought they were done when Acuna was out, but I was wrong. So, yeah, Yankees continue. So 3 more against the Twins, which starts, obviously game 2 tonight and into the weekend. Then you have 2 against the Braves, which is going to be a little harder than any people expected because it's the Braves. They're a good team. They're rolling right now. Then you head out West Coast, and you got 4 against the A's, and you got 4 against the Angels, or 3 against the Angels. And you come back home, and you got 3 against the Orioles. And that right there is big. Then you have 4 against the Blue Jays, which is also big. Let's see here. Then you have 3 against the Mets. Then you have 3 against the Orioles. And then 3 against the Indians, 3 against the Rangers, 3 against the Red Sox, 3 more against the Blue Jays, and you finish out your 3 against Tampa. So, let's be honest, the Yankees' schedule actually isn't, like, grueling down the stretch. Orioles, Blue Jays, all beatable. Angels, too, if you want to count that as, like, an August-September series. Mets, beatable. Orioles, beatable. Indians, beatable. Rangers, beatable. Red Sox, we just beat them. And then you got the Blue Jays again. So, in September, the Yankees actually don't have a terrible schedule. So, if you're looking at, schedule and you're looking ahead and you're seeing, what our schedule looks like. We have the Orioles more times. We have the Rangers. I got the Mets. You got the Indians. Blue Jays. Like, those are all very beatable teams. And the Orioles right now are on a 15-game losing streak. So, talk about getting a really bad team. That's the Orioles. They're on a 15-game losing streak right now, and they're 38-82. They might not even hit 45 wins. They might not. Maybe that's pushing a little bit. But they are a really bad team. I want to see here. So let's see the league. So overall, the Orioles actually now have the worst record in baseball. They have 38-82. And mathematically, are they already eliminated? They got to be, right? Unless if they win like every game. Yeah, I'm not going to blab on and on about the Orioles, but just looking at it, like, the Orioles are one of those teams where like they're not showing any signs of improvement. Like, the team's just so bad. Like, it's one of those things where like it would be one thing if their rebuild was going on and they were showing like signs of improvement, but they're so bad. They're not showing any signs of improvement. They're terrible every year. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like they're bad. I mean, they're not good. Like, I don't know where you go from here because they're not a good team. They're terrible. They're awful. They're awful. And they're not showing any signs of getting better. Like, every year it's been terrible. Throughout a rebuild, you're supposed to show signs of getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. The Detroit Tigers, for example. I mean, this season, yeah, are they 13.5 back? And yeah, are they struggling in their last couple games? Yeah, but they're competitive. They've been competitive. So, it's something that, like, you gotta, it's something that, like, they're not showing any signs of improvements. They're not showing any signs of getting better. They're only showing signs of actually getting worse. So it's the same team every year. It's weird. But we'll see what happens with them. But the Yankees, that's all I care about right now. 70-52, 5 games back. It's the only worry I got in the MLB right now. It's kind of funny. The Yankees away record's 33-27 this season. That was their record last year total in the regular season. Just goes to show you how weird of a year last year was. So yeah. Yankees continue to roll, and they got another game tonight against the Twins, and hopefully they get another win. All right, so let's get into the New York sports update here and finish off the podcast. Let's get to the New York sports update. Got some more NFL games on today. As for yesterday, the Cardinals won, Reds won, Diamondbacks won, Mariners won, Astros won, Angels won, Angels won, A's won, Rays won. Dodgers beat the Mets yesterday 4-1, so Mets moved to 60-61 on the season. Yankees beat the Twins yesterday, like I mentioned. Yankees moved to 70-58-2 on the season, and the Yankees beat them 7-5. All right, as for today, we got the Royals, Cubs. I'll give Royals the win. Braves, Orioles, give Braves the win. Blue Jays, Tigers, give Blue Jays the win. Indians, Angels, give Indians the win. Reds, Marlins, give Reds the win. Red Sox, Rangers, give Red Sox the win. White Sox, Rays, give White Sox to win. Mariners, Astros, Mariners, give Astros to win. Brewers, Nationals, give Brewers to win. Or I'll give Cheaters to win. That's what I meant to say. The Astros. Cardinals, Pirates, give Cardinals to win. Rockies, Diamondbacks, give Rockies to win. Giants, A's, give Giants to win. Padres, Phillies, give Padres to win. Mets, Dodgers today. Dodgers come in this game 76-46. Mets come in this game 60-61. Today, 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time on OB Network. You can also find this game on SNY. Mets got Carlos Carrasco on the mound. He's 0-1 with a 10.32 ERA. And the Dodgers got Walker Buehler on the mound. He's 12-2 with a 2.1010 ERA. Over-under for this game is 8.5. And 93% of people that think the Dodgers win. Give me the Dodgers. Yankees today against the Twins again. Second game of the 4-game set. Yankees are 70-52 on the season. Twins are 54-68. Yankees today 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes. Twins got Charlie Burns on the mound. He's 0-2 with a 4.91 ERA. And the Yankees got Nestor Cortez on the mound. He's 1-1 with a 2.55 ERA. The over-under for this game is set at 10. 79% of people think the Yankees will win. Give me the Yankees. All right, so some football stuff as well here. Patriots, Eagles. Patriots won last night 35-0. And today we got Washington and the Bengals. Give me Washington Bengals on tonight. Cardinals, Chiefs on tonight. And then tomorrow, the Jets and the Giants play. So the Jets play tomorrow, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on Alpha Network against the Packers in Green Bay. And the Giants play tomorrow. Play on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network against the Browns. So, Jets and Giants both have preseason games over the weekend, which should be, should be fun to watch, right? It's football. That's how I always say it. It's preseason means nothing, but it's football. You get to watch some of that. I'll watch the Yankees game at 1, which is on tomorrow Eastern, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Then is the Jets game. And And Yankees game tomorrow is on FS1, by the way. So that's good. All right, so let's get to the fantasy baseball. Then I want to get to my football thing. I'll finish football here. So this is as for the fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 156 to 141. And today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Marcus Simeon, Gene Segura, J.P. Crawford, Carlos Correa, J.P. Cronenworth, J.P. Crawford is the other guy's name. Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Manuel Margot, Avisail Garcia, and Luke Voigt. And I got James Caprillion and Nestor Cortez on the mound. All right, so other than that, no new real updates on the injury except the new addition of Odubel Herrera. Herrera was removed from Thursday's game against the Diamondbacks after being hit by a pitch on the right elbow. Matt Gelb of the Athletic Report. So he's out. Right now, he's day-to-day. We'll see how that all plays out. All right. And then let's see here. So let's get to fantasy football. Okay, so yesterday I had the third pick in the draft, which I was super excited about. I don't know if I said on this podcast, but I was saying it. I wanted the third pick. First pick, third pick. I did not want to pick like after pick 5. It would have been super weird, just not normal. I wanted the third pick in the draft. So I got the third pick in the draft, and with my rankings yesterday, I did say Alvin Kamara was the third. So I did take Alvin Kamara with the third pick in the draft. So I'm not going to go through the order of which guys I picked because that's just too hard. I know which guys I picked first. It was my 2 running backs and my 2 receivers. I know my first 4 picks in order. And after that, I think I took receiver, then quarterback, then tight end, then backup receiver, running back, then maybe another running back, then receiver, and a defense, and I think then a receiver, kicker, then receiver or something. It was late rounds then. But either way, Alvin Kamara was my number 1 pick. He was my third. I got the third overall pick in the draft. The first 2 picks went as planned. McCaffrey went number 1. Cook went 2. Kamara went 3. So now, let me read you your roster. So, spoiler alert, Alvin Kamara is my number 1. So let me read you my roster top to bottom. Ryan Tannehill is my quarterback. Alvin Kamara, running back. My running back 2 is Chris Carson. Wide receiver 1 is A.J. Brown. Wide receiver 2, Adam Thielen. Tight end, Robert Tonyan. Flex is Amari Cooper. Defense is Ravens defense. And kicker is Tyler Bass. So that's my starting lineup. I like the starting lineup with the Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown connection, both combo. I like Kamara and Carson. I'm very high on Carson, very consistent. I like Thielen a lot. He had a very good year last season. 14 touchdowns, gets a lot of receptions, good for PPR. And Amari Cooper is interesting. Although he had a down year last season, he still had over 1,000 yards. And with Dak being back, hopefully, with that whole shoulder thing, I expect an even bigger year out of him. Tonyan, I talked about yesterday. Very high end Robert Tonyan. I think with him, Rodgers, and Adams, and the other guys over there, very good. Tonyan last season had 11 touchdowns, and he gets a lot of receptions. He's very solid. They're actually projecting more receptions for him this year. A little less touchdowns, more yards, more targets. So I think he's going to have even a bigger role. I'm really excited about Robert Tonyan. I got him. And in my bench is Curtis Samuel, wide receiver, Tyler Boyd, wide receiver, Trey Sermon, running back, J.D. McKissick, running back, Marvin Jones Jr., wide receiver, Jameson Crowder, wide receiver, and my final running back, which is super interesting. I kind of only picked it up just, Devontae Booker. And the reason I picked him up from the Giants was if Barkley misses week 1 or 2, he would come back, or if Barkley is out at all throughout the year, I had him as in there. He might not. I don't even know if he'll be on my roster much longer. How long he'll be on my roster. He was my last pick, by the way, 190th pick. So he was my last pick. So it was kind of just one of those things. I do like the Marvin Jones Jr. pick. I really like this pick because this is a guy last year actually had a pretty good year. 76 catches for 150 targets, 978 yards, 9 touchdowns. And he had some big games. 25, 10, 27, 38, 13, 18, 13, 23, 12. He had some big weeks, and he was actually consistent, especially towards the end of the season. So, I like him. I know a lot of people would say Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark over there. I can't imagine him being the third option. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is probably going to be the number 1 over there. But yeah, I like it. And I know a lot of people say best valued as a borderline flex option in 12-team leagues. And I have Amari Cooper at flex. So, in a way, I got like another option to go here, which I really like there. Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel. I really like the Curtis Samuel pick. He was one of my sleepers in the draft. I think he's going to have a good year this year there in Washington, him and McLaurin. Tyler Boyd I just like how many, he gets a ton of receptions, and that's really good for PPR leagues. He gets a ton of catches. He'll get a good amount he's not going to get a ton of yards, but he only had 841 yards last season, but he's going to get catches. He's going to get a lot of catches, and this season he's actually projected to have more points, more touchdowns, more yards, more catches than last year. He's actually expected to have a bigger year than he did last season. I think part of that's because Burrow will be healthy. This season projected 83 catches, 121 targets, 908 yards. Last season only 841 yards, 4.8 touchdowns, rounded up to 10, 205.3 points. Last season he had 192.64 fantasy points. So he's actually projected to have a better year. And good bet for his fourth consecutive season, averaging a target share above 20%. He's a fine wide receiver 3. So I like that because I got another guy that could be a starter on my bench. So a lot of good trade assets as well there. Running backs, I'm not crazy about on the bench. I took 3 of them. I like my 2 running backs in Kamara and Carson. I like them a lot, so I'm not overly concerned about my running backs. I was debating on going another tight end, maybe just as trade bait down the road, but I figured, why? Why would I do that? I have Robert Tonyan. I believe in him. I think he'll be perfectly fine. And when his bye week comes, I'll just go out and you can just get a tight end. So that's something else there. I like Jamison Crowder. I picked him up. Jet fan. I think he's projected more yards this season, more targets, more catches. So, yeah, I like him. He's good. With Elijah Moore there, his role might be a little less, but, like I said, he's a bench, he's depth. In 12-team leagues, if you have not drafted yet, just take note that your bench is not going to be as strong. My 3 best bench players are probably Marvin Jones Jr., Curtis Samuel, or Tyler Boyd. Trey Sermon, J.D. McKissick were kind of side guys. Devontae Booker, I kind of just picked him as a roster filler. And Jamison Crowder, another one, nothing. I like Jamison Crowder a lot, but, his role will be interesting in the Jets offense this season. Whether or not they use him, Keelan Cole, Elijah Moore, how they use all those guys. So that also is something that will play out throughout the year. And as I always say, bye weeks, injuries, all that happens. So this roster right now is how it is. I'm sure by the end of the season, it's going to look a whole lot different. I always like to do that. As much as I hope the roster stays the same, because I like this roster. The roster that you draft, the roster that you wanted and stuff, and that's the roster you picked out. So if things happen, that stinks. But with injuries and stuff, but with bye weeks and all that stuff, you're going to have to make acquisitions. And I always find it fun. I always look at my week 1 roster. I look at it. And I look at the roster at the final week of the season, usually even in the playoffs, the final game of the season. And I compare it, and you'll see, it's crazy. You forget, I drafted that guy, or it's crazy because it happens a lot in fantasy. That's how it is in sports anyway. You look at your week 1 roster, even in baseball, it's crazy too. You look at your lineup on the first game of the season, and you go to the one on the last game of the season, or even in the World Series or the playoffs, and it's completely different. It's just how sports are. Same thing with fantasy. It's always funny because I always look back on it and I see I drafted that guy. I don't even remember that. It's crazy. It really is. But I gotta admit, I like a lot Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Marvin Jones Jr. And this Marvin Jones Jr. pick, I really like. I know a lot of people might say it's interesting, but he's a flex option. He's a solid flex option, and he's on my bench because I got Amari Cooper, which I like as well. So I like my receivers a lot. I like my starting running backs. I'm not crazy about my bench running backs. I mean, it is what it is. Running backs are short. They were slim pickings. The one reason I took J.D. McKissick, I was going to take Damian Harris, but someone else took him. He gets a lot of receptions. He's not going to run the ball a ton with Antonio Gibson there, but he's going to get a lot of receptions. So, it's one of those things. He led all running backs last season in routes, 385, and targets, 111, while finishing second in receptions, 80, and receiving yards, 589. So he gets a lot of catches, a lot of receiving yards. So I think if anything, he would be a borderline flex option for me. Stuff like that, but he gets a lot of receptions. And I think, too, in that Washington offense where it's going to be interesting, I think there's a possibility that he gets even a little bit of a bigger role, but we'll see. So, yeah. But I've got 3 guys that are questionable right now. A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Curtis Samuel. But I'm not worried about that at all. So, the reason I took my defense, too, the reason I took the defense of Ravens, because they play the Raiders for week 1, and I'm not really crazy about the Raiders offense at all. So, as you can tell, I took the approach of I'm going to stream defenses this week, or this year rather. I'm going to stream defenses. So, Whoever plays a weak offense, I was gonna go with Washington, but I didn't want Washington in versus the Chargers. I'm gonna stream defenses, so I'm gonna go just defense. So week in and week out, just go with a different defense. Now, sure, if the Ravens next week or week 2, I don't even know who they play. If they play a bad team, then I'll keep them. But that's how I'm gonna do defenses. I'm gonna probably just stream them. So yeah, that's my lineup. Ryan Tannehill, Alvin Kamara, Chris Carson, A.J. Brown, Adam Thielen, Robert Tonyan, Amari Cooper, Ravens defense, Tyler Bass. And my bench is Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Trey Sermon, J.D. McKissick, Marvin Jones Jr., Jamison Crowder, and Devontae Booker. So that's the lineup. Hopefully it's a solid lineup, and hopefully that lineup wins me some games. Sorry, I was just looking at one of these guys' numbers. Hopefully that lineup wins me some games. Hopefully this lineup, rather, wins me some games, as that's dope. By the way, I think Kamara's stock actually rises with the quarterback situation there in New Orleans because they're going to run the ball a lot more, and they're going to rely on check downs and passing more. So they're not going to throw the ball as much. So they're going to rely more on the run game and rely more on Kamara, which is why I think his stock rises. So that's that. But either way, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Another good podcast in the books, and that's the week. Friday, as you all know, I take breaks on the weekends, so I will see you all back here on Monday. Everybody enjoy your weekend. If you're a Yankee fan out there, let's hope they win. Keep on winning. That's the hope, right? Enjoy your weekend. A lot of good sports on this weekend. Jets, Giants, preseason games. Jets tomorrow, Giants Sunday. Yankees, baseball throughout the weekend. Got a game on today, then 2 day games Saturday and Sunday. Mets baseball as well. We'll see if the Mets continue to sink, and we'll see if the Yankees continue to roll. So, a lot over the weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the sports. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.